So yeah, I'm Mark Edwards. I'm the project manager for Project Vision, which is essentially our company's investment program for replacing our legacy ERP systems. On the site here, we manufacture two ranges of products, what we call PTFE and ETFE, and they will typically go into things like non-stick coatings, film for glass. It may go into making the plastic that lines a cable in an aeroplane or a car. And another one would be breathable fabrics for things like outdoor garments that people will be familiar with. The business has been going since the early 1990s. It was a former ICI company that AGC bought. We've got around about 250 employees. The plant operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and we only really tend to stop it when we do a plant shutdown. I think the fundamental thing that we recognised was that the legacy systems we had posed a risk. They were old, they were hard to support. The number of people outside of the business who really knew the systems was small and aging, and the technology wasn't something that younger people were wanting to go into. So it presented a genuine business risk. We realised very quickly we really do need to do this project to de-risk the business, and it was also a very old technology architecture. So it was a case of, rather than invest and upgrade it, let's do a complete refresh and go to market and look to see what's out there. Probably like a lot of companies who were on very old systems, the old legacy system was supplemented with a ream of Excel spreadsheets. So Excel and even Lotus Notes applications we were using effectively for databases. There was no real concept of a location at all in the old legacy system, and so when things got booked into stock, then they were also then populating a spreadsheet with the row or the aisle that they'd put that stock into. And the consequence of that meant whenever we sent pick lists to the warehouse to go and pick batches, they were then going to have to the spreadsheet to maintain the spreadsheet as well as maintain the system. So it's double handling of data. We looked at the business and said, we've got to do something because of risk, but do we simply want to replace what we had with something else? Or do we actually want to use the opportunity to review, revise, rethink the way we work? And not only thinking along the lines of, say, process and data, but also maybe take the opportunity just to do very small refinements to the organizational structure and who answers to whom and where people are located. So we met with all of the heads of department and directors, and we effectively, through interviews, we identified really 8 key business objectives that we had that the project had to support the enablement of. When we started the project, I think one of the things we were very conscious that we wanted to do was to be driven by how the system worked out of the box. So we were driven by what the system could do, first and foremost, and that largely influenced the way we did the implementation method, effectively. If you allow customization a little bit, then you allow it a lot. And the consequence of that makes it very difficult to upgrade and keep the system current. And one of the things we wanted to do, and we were very conscious of, is we want to make sure we take advantage of these constant updates that going to the cloud would provide, so that essentially as a business we could capitalize on new functionality. From the very beginning of the sales process, I think what we found HSO was passionate about our business. They were passionate about manufacturing. They showed a real interest in how we worked, the way we worked, why we worked the way we worked, and they came with very much solutions to problems, and they had a can-do attitude. And we saw that not just in the consultants, but we saw it in the sales team, and we saw it in the project director. And so the conclusion we reached as a business was, this is a company which is a safe pair of hands to help us through the implementation. In addition to that, we asked every head of department to nominate a lead subject expert, essentially a deputy for their department, who would then work with us to bring all their knowledge of the the day-to-day goings on in their department, to bring all the things that we would not have known, and to help us model the business processes and the what-if scenarios, for example. And those people became instrumental then in testing the processes early on, and they also became key to actually then educating and training their colleagues. I think one of the things we were very aware of is that although our old legacy system wasn't used in the factory or the warehouse, we were using the old legacy system for all of the financials, all of purchasing, all of sales, order processing, and stock management effectively. And so we concluded we do need to get off the legacy system and onto the new ERP system in one hit, in one sort of big bang. We toyed with the idea of phases, but the danger is you end up having to build temporary interfaces, which would have been cost down the drain and time as well. So we did go big bang for phase one, but very much phase two we see as a continuous improvement and very much more incremental improvements, largely standalone projects that we can do in isolation as our time allows. What we are finding as a result of phase one going in, it's exposing things that we would never have seen had we not gone live. So it's highlighting continuous improvement opportunities around stock, around batch attributes, for example. And so those are also feeding into the next stage. And what we're putting together at the moment is a roadmap of how we're going to do continuous improvement as a business going forward. In the warehouse, they had spreadsheets to record locations on. Now they get pick lists with a location written on it quite clearly, and it makes the whole process quick and slick and efficient for them. I think the other thing that the project has done, and you probably saw it today when we walked around, the project, we said we wanted to be a crowbar for change. So it's not just about putting a new system on. It's about challenging the process. It's about challenging the layout. It's about challenging the organisation, where people sit. So one of the things the project has done is exposed the need to put new offices in the warehouse, which are now in place. It's exposed the need to put more staff in certain areas, which are now in place. And what it's also done is it's highlighted the need to keep the warehouses in a more structured manner, shall we say. And because location control is now in place, it's forcing people to put things in an appropriate place for the type of product. The investment we made in the form pipe LaserNet product, which to produce stakeholder-facing documents, the customers are seeing documents in a far more consistent and more professional-looking layout than ever they were, and we're able to put information onto those documents like batch attributes that they never saw before from the systems. But so from a customer's perspective, what they should be seeing is absolute consistency of product. Because one of the things we've had to establish is selling specifications for customers, that effectively what range of attributes is acceptable for them for a product. And one of the things that D365 does very well is it prevents us from selling a product to a customer that doesn't meet their exact spec.
AGC has been using legacy systems for the last 9 years that I've been here. Systems like Lotus Notes, AS400, various other systems. Those systems are very aged, and support of those systems was becoming very difficult. Now we've moved to D365, all those legacy systems have been shut down, which means the small IT team we have on site actually now support all our systems internally. We've moved away from having 7-8 different suppliers and supports contracts, that we are now a single contract with HSO. We always want to know that we've got somewhere to go back to quickly. If something goes seriously wrong or there is a major problem, we have someone on hand, be it for consultancy, be it for support. With the old system, it left you very vulnerable. Risk was high. If AS400 went down, we needed disaster recovery contracts in place, which literally meant someone jumping in a van, putting a server in the back of a van, driving to site and setting up on site, which then took maybe 7-8 hours by the time they'd restored your data from the last backup to get you back up and running temporarily. I trust in my department to manage the support. We're confident in looking after Microsoft products already, and it allows me to focus more on what the business needs from IT.
Sales and marketing in our old legacy system, the sales data, shall I say, in the old legacy system, it was really only available once a month because the sales guys had to go to finance to do an extract, to do some manipulation, to then give them the sales data. Well, actually now, every day, each of the sales account managers got access to Power BI. They can see for their customers, their product lines, any which way you want to slice and dice the data, they can see the sales and the margin. They didn't get that before. It's about focus. It's about achieving deadlines. It's about achieving targets. It's about knowing where you are when you're there, as opposed to only knowing at the end of the month that you weren't where you wanted to be. We wanted a customer relationship management module. We wanted to get away from the idea that we would email a customer and only the person sending it would know what they've emailed to the customer. We also wanted to get away from copying everybody. The beauty of CE, one of its beauties, is that we can email from within it. And the consequence then is that anybody can see what's been emailed to or received from a customer. And in very simple terms, what does that mean? It's consistency of communication with the customer. It's the ability for anybody in the business to know what's been sent to a customer and what's been said and agreed and discussed. We've rethought the data model within CE since we went live with it a year ago, and we're now structuring the data capture on leads to help us with our strategic planning. So we're seeing it not just as a management tool, but as a way of data capture to aid analysis of our funnel, effectively, of our pipeline.